So here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's HFTP webinar, Recruiting, Hiring, and Retaining Top Talent. I'm Brittany, along with Barbara, and we are hosting this session of the HFTP Leadership Excellence Series. Hiring and retaining top talent can be a challenge for the new leader. Moreover, hiring top talent in the hospitality industry has historically been a challenge. Post-pandemic, it is even harder. Let's take a deep dive into the ways we can find, attract, onboard, and keep the best of the best. Our speaker today is Michelle Ricklin of Copeland, Kubler, and Wallace. She holds a BA in Theater, English Literature, and Speech Communications. While beginning her corporate career, she pursued and completed an MA in Speech and Interpersonal Communications from New York University, where she also served as an instructor in voice and diction public speaking. Utilizing her education and presentation skills, she continued a career path in human resource management. Her generalist background is all-inclusive, but her areas of expertise include employment, employee relations, and training development. So without further ado, Michelle, I will hand the webinar over to you.
Thank you so much. So thank you for everybody that is joining us today, and we have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. So it's a good thing that I am from New York and I do speak quickly because we have a lot to jam into this hour. So today we're talking about recruiting, hiring, and retaining top talent. I want to give you a quick overview of who I am. I am a member of HFTP and I do belong to 2 chapters in my area. Unfortunately, I don't get to attend as many chapter meetings as I'd like because I am on the road quite a bit. I will be at conference. I'd love for anybody to stop by that would like and come visit. I'll have a booth there. And let me tell you a little bit about who I am and my connection to the industry and to HFTP. Here we go. That's me. So I started, I am very familiar with the hospitality industry because I did start as a server and a bartender. 6 years worth of putting myself through college. I spent 10 years then in corporate progressive human resources positions, and then 23 years as a solopreneur and business owner, where my practice was HR consulting, corporate training, executive search, speaking, outplacement services, personal career marketing. Along the way, I picked up a client, and that client was the Club Management Association of America. And they were about 20% of my business, I'd say. 8 years with them. I was their exclusive resume writer, LinkedIn profile developer, and I worked with thousands of general managers and CFOs and many, many different people in the industry working on their personal career marketing and doing lots of speaking around the country at their chapter meetings. And then I joined Copeland, Kubler, and Wallace. And I am a career strategist, consulting, and search executive with Copeland, Kubler, and Wallace. And we are the leading search and consulting firm in the private club industry. So let's go forward and talk about what we'll cover. We'll be talking about recruiting, some of the challenges and the recruitment process, hiring, how we go to market, finding and engaging top talent, and then the onboarding of those new hires, and then retention. How do we retain top talent in hospitality, what a post-pandemic workforce does look like, and how we need to pivot. Today's workforce is definitely different, and we are hiring. It is a tough market, and it is a job seekers market. So we as the hiring entities are definitely not in the better position. Challenges. So let's look at the labor market today. So number of openings, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics as of June of this year. So 9.6 million job openings compared to 6.37 million of unemployed Americans. So that's a $5.3 million gap, $5.3 million person gap. So other challenges in June 2023 alone, 3.77 million people quit their jobs. So there's a lot of things that go into that factor. post-pandemic has definitely made it easier for people to say, no, you know what? This isn't what I want to do anymore. I have options. A lot of people are going to virtual jobs. A lot of people are reevaluating, what they want that job work life to be. They don't necessarily want to be in a position where they do need to be on site. That makes it very difficult for people in the hospitality industry, where most positions do need to be on site because you need that interaction with your guests or with your members. Sometimes in the finance and technology positions, those positions can be a hybrid or could be remote. But overall, in the hospitality industry, it is guest facing or member facing. So that does create a bigger challenge for our areas. So let's take a look a little bit more specifically to some of our market segments. So in the labor market today, accounting and finance, human resources, legal and technology professionals, they are the most in demand by companies that are looking to hire. And this is for the last 2 quarters of this year. That's according to State of US Hiring Survey from Robert Half. According to the recent surveys, 74% of accounting firms reported difficulty in finding qualified candidates. So think about that number, 74%. So I have a really nice relationship with many of our auditing firms in the hospitality industry, more specifically the club industry. But even just talking with the auditing firms and the heads of the auditing firms, they're having a really hard time finding auditors. So when I call them up and I say, hey, I have a great position for a controller, or I'm looking, well, let's start with that, a great position for a controller, or I'm working with a CFO that I really like, and they're looking for a staff accountant, and they say to me, hey, I can't even find a great auditor to add to my staff. We're really in a drought. And then we want to add on to that the fact that students are not going for degrees in accounting anymore, and that's a statistic, just on the college end, and people are not pursuing CPAs. So all of that combined makes it very difficult. And then, of course, we have the COVID factor. So how has that changed the workforce? So people are, again, really rethinking how, when, and where they work. So there's much more flexibility in a lot of workplaces, where, when we work, and what's required. So people are taking what we call gig jobs that are much more easygoing, not as stressful. They can work around their own schedule, their kids' schedules. Instacart and DoorDash. A lot of people did a lot of that during, with social distancing, or people that really still are not comfortable going back into the work, into an office type setting, or into a club or a hotel. These are some of the options that they have. It limits their contact with people. And again, people are really taking advantage of the fact that they can work remotely, and they can find a job where, 1 week they can be in one city and another week they can be in another city, and they can explore their travel options through work. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, and this is food for thought, and we can put that up on the chat and see what some people have to say. So what are the biggest challenges that you're facing regarding finding top talent? Let's start with that, and let's see what some people have to say.
And like Michelle said, go ahead and just type it out into the chat so others can kind of see what you're dealing with.
Okay, so finding talent overall, people aren't engaged. Attitude. Yeah, people do, they know that they are in high demand, so attitude becomes an issue, and people are looking for remote only, somebody saying younger people don't have work ethic, more sick calls, calling out, people aren't willing to stay and grow, lack of talent. There's a lot of fluff on the resumes, okay, pay, and qualified candidates aren't even looking for the jobs, and people are looking to move up too fast. Okay, these are really great answers, and definitely a lack of experience. So these are great answers, and certainly a lot of the challenges that a lot of people are facing. And then, oh, hi Arlene, want more money than we can, offer. And then, yeah, balancing skill level with some of the software that people are using, and maybe there's a too big a learning curve for some people when they come in, and their inability to learn something new. Okay, so that's great. These are all fabulous answers, and we can see as I'm looking through here, some of the things are definitely trending throughout the answers. Brooke, would you like to put up one of the polling questions as well? Well, we've got everybody typing away.
Absolutely. Okay, can everyone should be able to see question 1. In a recent survey, what percentage of accounting firms reported difficulty in finding quality candidates? Let's see who was listening to the first few slides. Awesome. We'll give everyone about another 10 seconds or so. Get your answer in, and then I will share the results. Okay, slowing down. All right, let's end it and sharing. Can you see that, Michelle?
I can. So 61% had the right answer, which was 74%. 74% said that that is the percentage of accounting firms reporting difficulty. Okay, so everybody else needs to gear up on their coffee. Okay, but that is the correct answer. 74% is the right answer. Okay, so let's continue. And let's keep going along on the recruitment process. So recruiting has shifted in so many different ways, and there's so much more to it. It's so much more sophisticated now. And it's great when we can really take a look at the data, so that we'll have multiple ways to back up what we are doing and how we are doing it. And then we can really make data-driven decisions about how we should approach our recruitment. And it is going to vary, from position to position, and we are going to have to try many different things. So first thing that we really want to do is we want to evaluate the department's needs. So whether we're doing that internally or we're working with a firm, because this is one of the first things that we do as a firm when we are working with the client, is we need to know what you need. And you need to know what you need before we can even go in and know what you need. And if you're doing it yourself and doing it internally, you really do need to know what it is that you need. So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to evaluate the department's needs, and then you need to do your market research for the competition. For compensation. So a few things that you need to know on that. Number one, what can you afford? So you need to work, with your finance team on budgeting. What's been budgeted for this position, and then is that budget, what's budgeted, in alignment with what else is out there? So if you're paying X amount of dollars for for your accounts payable clerk, and in the market that is $5,000 a year less than what everybody else is paying in the area, well, you're probably going to have a hard time getting somebody in. Definitely a hard time getting somebody from another comparable organization. So you need to know those things. So you're going to confirm what's needed, compare it to the budget, determine how you can get what you need if the range is not within the budget. So sometimes we haven't budgeted it properly. And then what channels do you need to go through in order to make sure that you can still get what you need? And then you need to gain insights from key team members as to what they are looking for in the future position. So it's always great to have buy-in from the people that are around you as to not only what they need as far as skill set and what's going to make their lives easier, but also you already have an established team usually. So you're inviting somebody in to basically your home, you know, when you're working with a department, and you need to know that it's a good fit. So, you know, that's something that we do as well. And culture is going to be something that we want to use to market for the people that are coming in. And you already have an established culture. So you want to make sure that the person that's coming in is not going to upset the apple cart, so to speak. So, you know, I always go in when I'm doing search and say, okay, I want to know who you are. I want to get to know you. And then I want to get to know what kind of person is going to fit into this group. You know, it's kind of like matchmaking. So we want to know that whoever's coming in is going to really fit and not be disruptive. So it's more than the skill set, it's the actual person. All right, and then based on all of that gathered information, we're going to determine that. Then when we have all that, we can develop an attractive candidate profile and those marketing tools that we need in order to get it out that, you know, this is what we're looking for, so we can advertise this position. And then we're going to engage in what I call push and pull marketing strategies. So we're going to evaluate, you know, what resources do we have to get this position out there, which is a part of our push marketing strategy. What's our, you know, what's the budget and what's our time frame? So we need to know, you know, what's our advertising budget, our travel budget if we need to do that, and then, you know, what's our goal as far as when do we want to have this person in place, and then work backwards from there. Keeping in mind that depending on the level of the position, so let's say we're looking for a chief financial officer, they're probably going to need to give more notice. So they may be looking at a 30 to 60 day notice, or, you know, in some cases, even a 90-day notice, depending on if they have a contract or not. Or if we're looking for a staff accountant, then we may be looking at a 30-day notice for, you know, looking for somebody who's an entry level. Maybe it is a 2-week notice, but we have to keep that in mind. And of course, depending on the level of the position, would also determine what we feel is acceptable, because somebody who's coming in, let's say, as a chief financial officer, if they say, oh, I can give you 2 weeks, probably not the person we want, because we don't want somebody that would only give us 2 weeks if they were at that level of a position. So we're going to evaluate our resources. We're going to work backwards on our time frame. You know, when we're going to start, how long we're going to advertise this position, when we're going to start our actual interviews, and then when we want to have a signed offer, and when that person would potentially be able to start. Then our next step, well, that's step 2, I'm sorry. Understanding the job market for the position. We've already begun that because we've done some of our market research, and we want to take a close look at what's around us, where we're going to pull from, and what's the competition doing as well. And then we're going to create that strategy based on that evaluation and those resources. Okay, so recruitment is both relationship based and it's also sales oriented. So we don't want to sound like a sales, you know, like a salesman, like, you know, I'm going to buy a car, but it is sales oriented. And when I say it's relationship sales, so we are going out and we are selling our organization. So whether it's a club, hotel, resort, whatever we are, we need to sell our brand. So keep in mind, it's a job seekers market. So we can't just say that, well, if they don't want to work here, it doesn't work that way. We can't just say, oh, well, they should be honored to work with us. We're a great establishment, and you may be the most wonderful club or the most wonderful hotel, in your area or even in the country. You still need to sell them, because they have their choice of where they can go. And we all think, of course, I can't tell you how many times I'll go into a search, and the club president will say to me, well, we're very unique. And every club will tell me, well, we're very unique. And every club is unique in their own way, but nobody is unique from what is going on in today's workforce. It is what it is. So we need to come up with ways to really attract based on our brands and based on our cultures, and find ways to pull people in. So that's part of our pull. It's every manager's job to recruit. So we should always be promoting our brand when we're out. Every person on the team at your establishment should be a recruiter in a way. So for example, you may be at a restaurant nearby, and it doesn't matter what your position is. So you may be, let's say, because you're in, you're in the finance department, and that your food and beverage director is having a really hard time finding servers. Well, that's not your bucket, but you're part of that team. So when you're at a restaurant, and let's say you have fabulous service, you should be recruiting. You've got a great server, and you say, hey, you know what? I work at such and such club, or I work at such and such hotel, and we're hiring, and you've got a great attitude, and we'd love to talk to you. Here's my number, or here's my email, touch base with me, and I'm going to connect you with my food and beverage director. Or, you see somebody, let's say, you went to play Top Golf, and you saw somebody who was, really, really fun and great that was working there, and you stop and you have a conversation, and they tell you, how much they love golf, and they play, and, oh, you know what, my pro's looking for help, and why don't you give me a call? Let me pass on your name and number. Always recruiting. And we should always be recruiting for everybody, right? Not just our area. And recruitment never stops. Even when we don't have positions, we always want to be recruiting, because there's always going to be a job. There's always going to be an opening. Recruitment process. So we want to meet customers where they are. Where can you go? Just like that. Where can you go to find your prospective employees? So it may be going to a networking event. It may be going to HFTP conference. That's a great place to meet people. Do you belong to your chapter? Do you go to your chapter meetings? Those are great networking opportunities to talk to your colleagues and say, well, what are the challenges that you're having? Here are some of the ones that I'm having. How are you combating them? Then you also want to make sure that you are giving those employees a positive experience when they're in the recruitment process, because then they're going to go out and tell other people, whether they get hired or not, it wasn't for me, but you should go down, you should give them a call, because they were really great. It didn't work out for me, but maybe this is a great place for you, because you know what, they really treated me well when I was down there. make sure that your candidates always are in touch so that they know what's going on. You don't want to ghost somebody for 2 weeks and then tell them they didn't get the position, or even, and that's the next one. You don't want to ghost them, because if you do, and let's say they went and they got another job because they didn't hear from you in 2-3 weeks, and you did want them, they're still going to be like, well, they weren't that responsive, and they're not going to recommend to other people. You really want to make sure that their experience with you, whether they have the position or don't have the position, is really smooth, and that there are no hiccups. Always leave them with a really, really positive impression. Another thing, do you have a LinkedIn profile page? And no matter where you're at in your career, you have to have one. It is the #1 tool that recruiters and hiring managers and HR people use to find and vet their talent. So either you have a resume, that could be your first touch point. And once they get your resume, they look you up. And resume tip, because that's one of my areas of expertise, put your hyperlink of your LinkedIn on that resume and just make it easy for them, because they are going to look you up. Second thing is your LinkedIn may be your first touch point. So if they're looking for people like you, they may find you on LinkedIn. So if they find you on LinkedIn, then they'll ask for your resume. So it's either way. Either they find you first on LinkedIn, or they have your resume and then they look you up. So basically, and I have a completely different webinar on this, but if you're not on LinkedIn, you do not exist in the recruitment process and job search. So absolutely have one. You need one. And for those that are doing the searching, great place to find people. So in our recruitment process, and this is something you can do on LinkedIn, something you can do in many different forms of social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Promote the organization's culture. You'll want to use images and videos. That's one way. That's you can. Employee testimonial. Highlight the benefits. There's tons of benefits. I saw something really wonderful at a club that I was at just yesterday, that just said something about the culture. In the kitchen, on the white tile, they have markers you can write on the wall, and they call it their affirmation wall. And people go in the kitchen and they just write affirmations and nice things about each other, and just on the tile in the kitchen. It's an entire white tile wall where employees just go in and write nice things about each other, and motivational quotes and things like that. And I just thought that was really cool, and said something about the culture of the club. So I would take a picture of that. And actually I did, but because I thought it was such a cool thing, but take a picture of that and put that in the marketing material, send it out, something like that. If you've got something like that at your place, then you could use that as a way to market. Okay. Okay, before we go on, I just want to show you a little clip. Do we have a polling question that we can pull up?
Yes, we do. Let's see. We've got question number 2 launching now.
Oh, nope. Actually, we haven't gotten to that yet. All right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll go back to that one.
Okay.
All right. So just really quickly, let me just show you just a little video, a marketing video. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but this is something that I thought was really cool that one of the clubs did as a recruitment tool, just to show people who they are and what they're about.
Hospitality. It's defined as welcoming, kind, and generous. And at Mediterra, it's not just a field of work, it's a way of life.
Hospitality is perishable.
So every day we strive for perfection again.
Every day is a new day.
A new chance.
To do it all again.
Taking care of guests and each other.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Because good enough never is.
True hospitality.
Those moments of truth when we come in contact with our members. Each day striving.
Each day giving.
Each day, a new day.
A perishable day.
But one that won't be forgotten.
Memories are made here.
Because hospitality is our way of life.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Welcome.
welcome,
Welcome.
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 welcome,
Welcome.
welcome,
Welcome.
Welcome.
welcome to Mediterra.
Okay. So I think that's a really fun video. People absolutely get to see in that video the team and a bit of the culture and the fun people that work there. And I think it's very effective. We've got some great comments going on in the chat as well. And we've definitely got some comments from people back and forth where people are saying, that they've been ghosted as a candidate. So that just proves my point. It's something we definitely don't want to do. And then, you definitely want to treat the candidates as you would like to be treated. So that's a good point for sure. I've definitely I've had a lot of candidates that have said to me, thank you so much for the rejection letter. Thank you so much for getting back to me and letting me know that I didn't get the job. It's so rare these days that somebody does that, and I really appreciate it. And that's really sad. So just something to keep in mind. It says a lot about the culture of your place and, again, how you're representing it. And a lot of people have said, LinkedIn, that they've used it as well. So that's great. Let's keep going. And we got another one. Okay, so ways that you can get it out there. So this is part of our push marketing again, job boards, social media, engaging everyone in the recruitment process. So employee referral programs, other incentives that we can give, career fairs, tapping into the universities, and like we said, always recruiting, going where the candidates are. And then there are lots of other, really creative things that we can come up with for recruiting as well. I went so far in my early career. I was working for an advertising agency, and I joined, and I'm definitely not a team F athlete, but I joined the advertising agency of Manhattan softball team. Every agency had a softball team, and I joined the softball team, which was fun, but it was mostly for going to the bars afterwards so that I could talk with all the people at the other agencies so I can recruit them. So that's part of going where the agencies are and being creative. So you want to come up with things like that that'll work for you. So let's talk about, all right, we've done a lot of recruiting and sourcing, and now we want to get to the hiring part. And how do we do that? So part of hiring, the interview part and getting to the offer. So how do you get the most out of that and the most out of your interviews? So first we need to define, well, who's going to be involved in the interview process? And that will vary from position to position. Sometimes it'll be just you as a department head, or it may be a group of people, or it may be a general manager involved, or it may be a board member, or or a committee. So we want to know who's on board, who is this going to need to be approved by, and who's going to be involved. And then, there are different formats for interviews, and we need to figure out, well, what's the best format for the position that we're hiring? Are they going to be one-on-one interviews? Are there going to be multiple interviews? Is it going to be a group format? Are there skills that need to be tested within the interviews? So these are all things that we want to determine. When does the interview begin? So that's, again, they're interviewing us and we're interviewing them. So I say this for both. If you're the candidate, when does the interview begin? So we've done all of our preliminary work, and now we've got an on-site interview. And that interview starts before you ever get on site. So there are little things I always say. If you're going to an on-site interview, make sure your car is clean. You never know when somebody's going to walk you to your car. Make sure that you are in interview mode and polite to every single person that you see from the second that you step foot on that property. And that should be a given, considering the industry that we are in, but often it's not. So make sure. And from our perspective as an employee, we want to make sure that we're giving a good impression. So let's make sure that our property is up to par, and that this person is not going to walk in and say, this place isn't kept well, or we've had situations in every department where somebody's walked into a situation for an interview and they're like, oh, that's where I'm going to work. Or whether a chef coming into a kitchen and saying, this is the most filthy kitchen I've ever seen, and not being interested in the position, or a chief financial officer walking in for a position, and it's a tiny corner that's filled up with paperwork and you can't find the desk, and that says something about the organization of that department and what they're going to have to clean up when they come in, figuratively and hypothetically. And it also says, if that's how it's been, it also says something to the candidate about how serious is this employer about me, that they didn't clean it up before I got here. This is the impression they're making on me. So the interview begins way before that person comes on property, for both the interviewer and the interviewee. Passive interview techniques. What paper can't tell you. So you also want to think through, well, what are some of the things that you're looking for that isn't going to be on that resume? So the skills may be there, but again, we're also looking for fit. So behaviors, how does this person act when let's say you walk through? Does this person come straight to your office, or do you walk this person through the property and give them a little bit of a tour so that you can see how they interact with people? Those are the things that aren't on paper. And then you want to come up with some telling questions. So again, open-ended, not just the yes and the no questions, but things that dive deep and get more information out of them, and questions that are going to reveal and then take it a step further and then open up for more questions. And use effective listening skills. You should not be talking as much as you should be listening. So we've said it a few times, but we really want to bring it home. The candidate is also interviewing you and the organization. You need to be prepared to sell it. So you are the ambassador. You want to be at your best. So with the interviews, you want to think experience. You want to consider this a two-way interview. You want to provide club culture info so that they know what kind of environment, or, organization info. What's the mission? What's the core values? You want to make sure that this is where they want to be, and share career growth information and be transparent about money. You don't want to waste a person's time. If this is a, $75,000 job and this person is already making 150, let's not waste their time. Let's be honest and be transparent. Let's not make assumptions about a person because we have no idea what their story is until we ask about it. Different ways, these are interview traps, I'm sorry. So different ways that we can find people and or keep in touch with people. Not just emailing, it's not just calling, it's both. It's sending messages through LinkedIn, it's texting, it's videos, it's Instagram. There's just a million ways that we can communicate with people in order to find them and stay in touch with them. And we need to find out which way is going to be most effective for the age of the person, for the position. So some people are going to be in a generation where the only way you're going to get them is by texting them. And for some people, the only way you're going to get them is by Snapchatting them. We have to find where they are and how they work, and then tailor our process and our outreach to that person. So it's a lot, and it's a lot of information when you're dealing with a lot of candidates. So it's probably a good idea also to keep a spreadsheet of each person that you're working with, and notes on this person texting, this person emailing is best, this person going through their LinkedIn profile is best. Keep that information so you have yourself a little database. Okay. Some of the traps that we fall into is not taking enough time. So don't rush your interviews. You shouldn't have a couple of, pat questions, you ask them and you're done. Get to know the person, because that's your job when you're recruiting, is to really get to know so that you can vet them properly. We already said, not listening. You want to be an effective listener. Don't talk too much. Let the person talk. Don't be distracted. So if you're doing a Zoom interview, which some people will do first, make sure that while you're Zooming that your area is conducive to that Zoom interview. So turn off the phone, make sure that your room that you're Zooming from is pretty clear. Pets, children, whoever might be in the background, just, do your best to keep everybody away and not distracting you. Whoops, I'm sorry. And then if you're not selling your brand, then you're not doing well in the interview. You do want to make sure that you are a cheerleader for your organization in that interview. And another trap is lack of information. You want to make sure that they are really armed and ready and excited about the opportunity and what it offers. And then another trap is lack of follow-up. Make sure that you follow up whether they are going to be hired or not. And like I said, a bad experience is going to be repeated. Okay, so before we move on to onboarding, let's get that second poll question in.
All right. We are launching question number 2. A common interview trap is not selling, talking too much, assuming, or all of the above. So we will let that run for just another 10 seconds or so. So get your answer in. Give everyone a few more minutes, not minutes, seconds. Okay, we're going to end it. We're going to share it. What do you think, Michelle? Better?
Much better. Lots of people doing effective listening. Okay, so common interview trap is all of the above.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, so now on the onboarding side, which is part of our hiring, we want to take a look at our onboarding process. So we want to ideally work with our HR department and assess the onboarding process. Make sure that that we have a process in place, and we're going to give this person a wonderful first day and beginning to their new position. We want to mind the gap. And what does that mean? Well, they've given notice. So let's say they've given a 30-day notice and they're coming to you. So great, we give them their paper, they sign their offer. Now we've got 30 days until they come on, on site to start their new job. During that time, we should be in communication with that person. We want to let them know how we can't wait for them to get here, how this is going to be a great experience. Is there anything that they need? Do they have any questions? And we kind of want to stagger all that over the course of 30 days, because we do not want that candidate at any point to turn around and change their mind. And we do want them to know that they are wanted, right? We want to start them off that way. But I can't tell you how many times, and it's unfortunate when it happens, but how many times someone will say at the last minute, oh, I got another offer in between, or, oh, I changed my mind, or, or they feel like, well, I haven't heard from them, and, it's kind of not nice. So let's keep up that positive feeling. And we do want to share some of the culture and maybe assign somebody to be their person that's going to be like, hey, I'm going to be, your ambassador when you come on board, and I'm going to show you around. And, I went, I had a position once that I had started, and definitely not a good fit. My first day in, nobody was there. Oh, well, this one's out, that one's out. And I got there and was like, I didn't even have a desk. And I was, I was like, huh? And I literally sat there for 2 days. Nobody even showed me where the bathroom was. It was, it was one of the most horrible onboarding experience I ever had. And I left pretty soon thereafter. It really had such a bad taste in my mouth from the first day. All right, so interviews and offers. Up to 25% of employee turnover happens in the first 90 days. Organizations with a standard onboarding process experience 50% greater new hire productivity. Best-in-class companies are 35% more likely to begin onboarding process before day one. 60% of companies fail to set milestones or goals for new hires, and only 37% of companies extend their onboarding programs beyond the first month. So those are some of our statistics. And it's very important for multiple reasons, acclimating, just, starting off with a good experience, and we can always give you this slide as well. Okay. Pre-starting, like I said, it's going to start off your interactions well. And it's going to, these are just some ideas of things that you can do. You want to call, you want to welcome your direct supervisor should call and welcome them. And, you want to set them off before they ever get there. And then we got to keep them once we've got them. So let me just ask this. Should all employees be treated equally? Just food for thought. And we're going to go back to that at the end and see what people had to say. Equally, but not, well, here, equally, but not the same. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, the answer to that is no. I have a lot of yeses and definitely. People should be treated fairly, but they should not be treated equally. And somebody said, well, that depends. What do you mean by equally? So let's hold that thought and let's take a look at this. I love chocolate, but when I fish, I use worms because fish love worms. Somebody says, quote from 1 Minute Manager. Okay. I love chocolate, but when I fish, I use worms because fish love worms. Fish love worms. I love chocolate, but my friend Susan does not like chocolate. She likes French fries. So what are you going to fish with? You need to treat everybody fairly, but not equally. Everybody does not need the same thing. You cannot treat people equally. I don't treat my children equally. They're different people. I treat them all fairly. Not equal, but fair. Okay, I've got a few people there. So, here's some statistics. Oh, we said that already. Sorry. Okay, so retention efforts begin in the recruitment process. They continue throughout the entire tenure. We want them to have a great experience when they join. So they will stay when 69% will stay when they've had a great onboarding experience. So while they're there, we get them on board, we get them started. But when they're there, if they do leave, we want to know the why. So we want to make sure that we ask. And here are just, some questions we would ask. Then we also want to know why they're staying. And we should be asking these questions, pretty regularly. Why are they staying? We need to get to know our people. Because when we get to know our people, then we know what we're fishing with. And we know, how we can keep them. Because not everybody wants chocolate. And we're not going to be equal with everybody. So, what do you want? Somebody does something great. Do they just want, somebody to recognize them? Recognition is one of the top things that keeps an employee. And these are statistical. Money's down by number 5 or number 6. Recognition and appreciation is number 1. So how do you recognize and appreciate and incentivize? You got to know what they want. Do they want a steak dinner? Chef probably doesn't. That probably wouldn't be his incentive. But maybe he's a baseball fan. Maybe he wants baseball tickets. Or, maybe somebody's a big movie buff. Maybe, movie tickets. I love sunflowers. So when my friends want, they bring me sunflowers. Or if I'm having a bad week, I have a colleague, she sends me sunflower stuff. Vegetarian isn't going to want a steak dinner, so don't send them, a gift certificate to your favorite steakhouse. Got to know your people. And when you do, you know how to keep them. So how about our next polling question? I think we need 3, right?
Yes, let's get to that last one. All right, everyone. Launching now, up to 25% of employees turnover happens in the first how many days? It was a few slides back. She tried to trick you by putting a lot of numbers on the slides. Let's give everyone a few more minutes. And of course, if you have any other questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat while we're kind of wrapping up. And we'll kind of see. Let's see, I'll give everyone a few more seconds. Ooh, we're all over the board on this one, Michelle. Let's see what we got. Here's the shared results. What do you think?
Well, Brittany, you tell us.
Okay. Let's see, we've got 60% got the right answer, which was in the first 90 days. Then we had the next group thought 30 days. So,
All right. That one went quickly, so we got to give them a little bit of a pass on that.
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Awesome.
Did we have any others, or was it?
That
only-
was it. Yeah. So I guess
Good.
at this point, yeah, if you have any other closing remarks or a slide you kind of want to put up for the last few minutes while people make some last minute comments, that would be wonderful. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I, just want to give some people some contact information. But let me see if here's some really nice ones. So, let me just read off a couple of the comments that we're getting here. So handwritten notes and frequent recognition has been successful for me. And that's something that somebody said. And I can tell you that from our firm, that's one of Dick Copland, and he's an icon in the industry, and he's just wonderful. And he's a big fan of the handwritten notes. And I do that as well. I like the handwritten notes. I know that I have always encouraged my candidates, send that email, but then send a handwritten note as well. And actually put it in the mail with a stamp. People, and then there's some people on this call going, huh? How do you do that? But it's so classy.
Mhm.
It really is. And it's rare. It's a shame that it's rare, and I too, and I'm a big pen to paper person. It helps me think better, but there are times when I go and I'm sitting down and I'm trying to write something like a handwritten note, and I stop in the middle because I made a mistake writing because I don't write as often as I do. So that's a really good point. But let's see, there's a couple of other comments here with that. The little things that count, it really is. Even if it's just recognizing, in a group meeting, recognizing somebody, providing extra support, lots of little things during the day. It doesn't have to be something that's grandiose. Little things matter.
Definitely.
So, thank you for everybody, to everybody that joined us. And absolutely, I encourage everybody, please feel free to link in with me. Follow me on Instagram, and I will be at conference, and we have a booth, and I'd love for everybody to stop by and say hi.
Awesome. That is so great. Well, thank you, Michelle. We really appreciate it. And this recording will be posted online. So if you want to go back and review her slides, she has her information up. Definitely connect with her. We hope to see everyone at annual convention in October. A few things real quick is if you're collecting your continuing education credit today, please note you will need to self-report your credit for this webinar through the certification tracking spreadsheet, and it's available at the bottom of the virtual education webpage on HFTP. You will receive an email with the CPE credit certification information within 24 hours. And again, always save that for your records. Finally, just a few points is that in September, we are going to have a ethics related webinar. So get ready, because I know everyone's looking for their ethics credits out there. And then again, we do have our annual convention in October, and at that will be our Leadership Excellence Series reception. So we are coming to an end. If you have been a part of the Leadership Excellence Series, it has been so fun, I guess, working and being a part of this for a year, but we now get to honor and recognize y'all for your outstanding attendance in these sessions. So more information is online. It is going to be October 17th from 5 to 6. Right before annual convention kicks off. And if you want more information, please email myself or Barbara. And then I think that's it for now. Of course, I'll send you additional emails about upcoming sessions, especially if you're in the Leadership Excellence Series group. I'm sure you're used to my emails that come all the time. So we are always here to help you. And again, Michelle, thank you so much. And I'll see you in October. I'll be at annual convention. So looking forward to meeting you
Sure.
in person. Yeah, definitely. So, and thank you everyone for being so interactive today in the chat. We always appreciate it. It's more fun that way for sure. So I think that's it. But yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.